Hello, and welcome to Cursed Content Club. I am your host, Chris Wolfhart, and with me as always are my co-hosts, Dan and Bob Video Games of GigaBoots.com.
Ass.
Other reference.
And Dr. Aggro of Dr. Aggro.
Diarrhea.
Buffalo balls would rather eat. We're watching the AVGN movie. Did you know there's an AVGN movie? What was it, a decade ago by now?
God, yeah, they're about.
Right?
It's been forever. It's actually a decade ago exactly.
Incredible.
Oh my God.
I remember that the first AVGN game came out, and then between that and the second AVGN game, the movie came out. So the second AVGN game is full of characters I didn't know who the fuck they were.
Whoa.
No.
Who's this general guy I'm shooting? Who are these two characters that are giving me items?
Oh no.
Yo, that's cross-media synergy.
At least in the first game, you just found the guy who played the theme song and motherfucker Mike and the bullshit man.
Yeah. You know what's bullshit? This movie.
I'm sure it's great. I'm sure that I won't have a less rosy view of James Rolfe after watching this movie at all. Maybe.
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 Maybe. This is when I need to get out my disclaimer. As always, I am a huge proponent of YouTubers making movies. I will always be there. I'm not going to kickstart it though, just to be clear.
I'm with you in spirit.
You did well without me, and that's great for you, and I'm here to buy your Blu-ray. I literally have the Blu-ray sitting right on my desk. I've owned it apparently for 5 years, and this is my first time watching the Blu-ray because I rented it from Amazon to watch it in the first place. I'm a huge James Rolfe fan. This movie is James Rolfe trapping himself in the saw trap of making a movie in the way he believes Hollywood should make a movie.
Mm-hmm.
You can imagine how well that goes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's so good, actually. That's why everyone points at it and goes, "What a great movie that was! A great experience." With
I'm gonna be completely honest. Other than you, Dan, I've never heard a fucking person bring this movie up.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Like I've never heard someone talk about a thing that's in it. I've never seen a clip of it. I've never had someone tell me an anecdote about watching it.
That's amazing.
But it still feels culturally relevant because Dan is made up for that in volume of talking about the AVGN movie.
You know, I've actually done my best to not talk about anything specific about the AVGN movie.
Exactly.
So that way
it's
this
so
experience
mysterious.
would be so harmful. This commentary track is going to be one to listen to for a number of reasons. Because, Chris, much like me, you've watched a lot of the AVGN.
Yes.
I don't know what Aggro's engagement level with AVGN overall is.
Yeah, I watched a bunch of his stuff back in the day.
It's funny because in most cases like this, where the movie just doesn't exist as far as the larger internet is concerned, you would think it was because he dropped off the face of the planet, but he's still making reviews. He's still getting millions of views.
Mm-hmm.
And yet still, this movie doesn't exist as far as most people are concerned.
I don't think he even wants to point people to it.
You think?
I don't think so.
Bob, my image of James Rolfe is that anytime the movie comes up, he gets a deep, sad look as he stares a million miles into the distance, remembering how this nightmare project went.
Yeah.
Excited to watch it again.
I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm going to keep saying that until it's not fine. Does anybody have any other things to say before we go into it?
I watched this with Dan whenever we did that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember parts of it. I remember this movie just being really bad, but I don't know exactly how and to what extent.
Oh.
I'm excited.
I inscribed every bad part of this movie upon my soul.
Whereas I just try and focus on the good parts and remember some of the really neat things he does at the very end.
James Rolfe is a great creator. He has had such a huge influence on the internet, and he has such a deep love of cinema, which makes this movie all the more baffling. He went to film college.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know that.
Maybe sometimes the difficulty of doing a thing is a lot more than you thought, and you should really, man, this is why Kickstarter is kind of a trap.
Yeah, I know this got stuck in post-production for like 2 years or
Yeah,
something.
it was about 2 years because he had certain special effects stuff that no one else knew how to do, so he had to brute force figure it out himself while also making AVGN episodes, while also having a family.
Yeah.
Nightmare. Anyways,
Let's go watch the movie.
yeah, let's go watch the movie. I cannot stress, this is going to be the one you want to catch. This is going to be a good commentary track. Let's go.
And we're back. Fuck you, Dan.
What? That's the summary? That's everything?
The AVGN movie is a completely miserable experience that is so completely unlike anything James Rolfe has ever done, and is a level of unfunny you will be stunned James Rolfe is capable of. However bad you think the AVGN movie is, it is actually worse. -5. Dan, what do you think of the AVGN movie?
Oh, man. For anyone who doesn't know, we use a -5 to 5 scale. I see Chris has chosen the absolute lowest number
I wonder why that would
possible. He seems really thrilled. I was completely flabbergasted and devastated that James Rolfe could make a movie this bad. Nowadays, I've just thoroughly come to terms with the fact that this is nowhere near what he would ever have wanted to have made. And this production and everything about it probably just really got away from him. Every story I've ever heard about its production is how it did not go according to plan in the least. I mostly just feel bad for him, but as a film, it is absolutely rancid. I'm going to give it a -4.
That's all fair. Bob.
Yeah, this is way worse than I even remembered, which I remembered it being really bad. But it just keeps going, and almost nothing happens during the whole movie. There are some fun props scenes where they do like a physical effect, but I'm still going to give it a -4 because it is genuinely just terrible.
Aggro.
This thing is bewildering. Usually when you watch a bad movie, you can tell what happened. Like walking into the wreckage of a burned building, you know fire was here. This is just confusion. Who made these decisions and why? I mean, I laughed at a couple of bits. -4. It wasn't racist.
Madam Web was way better.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Our other segments are very hyper specifically focused on things. So since that's the case, I would like to just spend a moment and explain some stuff to people who have never watched it. Firstly, I would like to say, go listen to our commentary track. There's the link in the description. That is the way you should have to experience it. But tossing that to the wind and now spoiling it. There are 3 main characters of this film. 2 of them don't need to exist. It is James Rolfe, barely fleshed out at all, basically thinner than he's ever been in even his own video reviews of games, being buried under countless scenes about his nerd friend/fan who likes to insert himself into his stuff and even make videos aping James videos, which sounds like a great thing to focus on. They don't. And some untrustworthy woman from a game publisher who wants to make a sequel to E.T. on the Atari. But she's a woman, and you shouldn't trust those. This movie's rancid.
Yeah.
We better get to our segments. This is so despicable. Let's start with best character and just aggro. Just pick the only one. Just pick the one we know you're going to pick.
I'm going to pick the general.
Oh.
Every time he was on screen, even if it wasn't like good, it was interesting. He had some of the most believable energy and delivery, and I loved him riding around in his weird tank scooter thing.
Yeah. No, that's fair. It is weird that he's the only character outside of James Rolfe I at all wanted to be in this film based on his acting. No matter how poorly the plot integrates him into the film.
He is a decent actor. Dan, who do you think the best character is?
The fucking E.T. puppet.
Yep.
Yeah, of course.
1, voiced by a Ninja Turtle. 2,
Yep.
has the best lines. 3, is the primary focus of the best scene in the movie. I don't need to say anything else.
Bob.
I'm actually stuck between 2.
Okay.
It's hard to say if either is actually a character, so you can veto either one, and I'll go to the other.
Okay.
The dream ET puppet that's a weird tentacle head monster.
That was pretty good. That was a good
that cracked me
sequence.
up really bad.
Where he has a nightmare and he's just attacked by a horrible space monster.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Calling that a character is a little rough.
You know
though.
what? We've allowed characters that only are implied to exist, such as the spirit of Christmas in certain Christmas movies.
And we've given worse character to the writers before. I feel like that happened once.
It almost certainly did, yes.
Yeah, Jesus. My runner-up would be the prop version of Cooper, his black friend.
Oh yeah,
when he's
gets,
showing out windows.
yeah, when he falls off a thing or is thrown out a window. Yeah, that's fair.
Ooh. God. I'm gonna pick the AVGN because the AVGN has been good in other things that aren't this movie.
Yeah, you've accidentally picked the misogynist version of it for some reason.
I choose to believe that he is just a Jughead-esque Volcel.
And just happens to run a cult where no one can know any women or otherwise they're compromised as people and he can no longer have them in his life.
You can't be a nerd if women.
Hey, we haven't seen how James Rolfe reacts to a gay guy yet. We haven't seen how the AVGN reacts to a gay man. He might be, sorry, the only joystick you should be playing with is for the fucking game.
I don't know. I was just watching the movie and I thought this was, hey, isn't this James Rolfe? Not James Somerton? Ha 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 ha. Because he's a misogynist. That's the joke. He hates women.
Great.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay. That was good. Hey, how sad is it? We gave best character to our main character behind 2 different ET puppets? And the general, when he's the main character of the fucking movie, the whole reason this thing existed, the whole reason I bought it. And the only reason he gets it then is because every other character in this film's terrible.
Yep, that's sure true. Let's move on to worst character. Dan, who is it?
Do I blame woman for sin of woman being untrustworthy? I'm finding difficulty navigating such deep, complex topics within the mythos of this film. I mean, she is a woman. She shouldn't be trusted. That's what the film taught me.
Yeah, I mean, I was absolutely red-pilled by this movie.
That's fucking tragic.
I hate women now.
I guess I'm going to give it to the lady from Cockburn Interactive or Entertainment. She's terrible. She makes this film worse. She's the fulcrum under which nerds before birds exist. She has scenes where she's like, okay, even though it's going to demean me in a sort of hot way, let's catfight. And then that gets like minutes of the ending. Minutes.
Yep.
We didn't
sure
need that.
Does. It sure does. Hey, Bob, what's
Yeah.
that character's name?
Who knows?
I'm going to guess. I'm going to shoot in the dark. Was it something like Mandy?
That's my guess.
That is correct. It is
Oh
Mandy.
my God.
Wow.
I really was uncertain.
That's astounding. Aggro, who do you think the worst character is?
I was like, who
I'm-
do you think her name is?
I am choosing the other woman, Sergeant McButter.
Oh, you mean McButter, who apparently doesn't wear panties and says that in a very aggressive style?
She starts out as the long-suffering, competent woman under the bumbling idiot warmonger general, and moments later is completely incompetent and then doing sexy interrogation, and then goes back to being incompetent before we do the fight that we hung a lantern on. So it's fine.
It's fine.
That's great. Oh God, I have to go next. Cooper, black nerd friend character. He sucks so bad. He's so every second he's on screen, you might as well just be showing me TV static.
Yep.
I thought he knew his last name because he said Cooper Black, and I was like, he knew his last name. Oh, black nerd friend. Yeah, okay.
I wrote down he runs the Super Rad Dude YouTube channel.
Oh fuck.
You did write that down. Do you want to talk about that? Is this a
No.
cry
Let's,
for help?
let's not.
Oh, okay.
Let's not talk about that ever again in
Okay.
any capacity. But Bob, you do have to tell me who the worst character is.
This is hard because we're literally out of characters. Unless I nominate Super Rad Dude, but I don't think that works.
I don't think that.
There's plenty of characters you can give worst character to,
There's the
like
scientist.
like Dr. Xandor.
Yeah,
Doug
there's
Walker.
Howard Scott
That'd be
Warshaw.
cruel. He's only in one shot.
And yet his acting was so bad, he might earn it.
It's a cameo. He screamed like the way he screams in his own videos.
It's true. There were worse people in those crowds.
Oh, yeah, there were. You could even give it to Pat the NES
Yeah, it was
Punk.
like
I
Pat-
wouldn't recommend it,
Yeah,
but
like
you could.
Pat's there. He wasn't especially bad.
You give it to Mike Matei. You could be like, I don't care what he did in this movie. He did that thing with Inspector Gadget.
You could give it to Howard Scott Warshaw. This film's kind of his fault.
It kind of
If
is.
he didn't make the game Atari, this film wouldn't be this film in the least. Isn't that amazing?
Jesus.
It's true. Imagine if this game didn't exist, what the fuck is the plot of this film? It has to be better than this.
I'll give it to the Nerds manager who has one scene.
Oh, not the Nerds manager.
no, the Nerds manager
the
at the
manager of the
GameStop.
game store. Yeah, Game Cops. That was the
Yeah,
name
that
of
was
the.
the- that was
the
the
name
name.
of the. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
That scene sucked and kept going and kept going.
And yet I argue that was when the movie was good because it might be about a character, a thing you are completely robbed of the notion of by the end of the bar scene.
Yes.
I would say that is perhaps the second best scene. But I'll get to tell us what the best scene is because we're
Ooh.
moving on to best scene, and I'm going to start. The best scene is the scene where the angry video game nerd and the alien are both in the jet.
No!
And the alien is like trying to convince the nerd he's here for some grand purpose. And the nerd then is like, oh, is it this stupid shit from earlier in the movie that the black nerd character said? And then the alien says, yes, but the alien's delivery is really good in that scene.
Yeah,
And
it's
also the puppet is delightful every moment you're looking at it.
It's almost like the person who played the alien is an actor.
As an actor. A storied actor who has done many things. Bob, what is the best scene in your opinion other than the obvious one I stole from everyone?
Right. The kaiju stuff would be, but it's so like cut in with all that terrible fight scene between the two ladies.
And don't forget the 30 different shots of crowds running away from a terribly green screened onto a city that doesn't even match the brightness or time of day as the exclusively shots of the fucking kaiju.
So I'm not gonna give it to that. I'm gonna give it to a scene very early in the movie that kind of sucks, but I laughed when the girl nerd shows up and shows.
Bob, she's not a real nerd.
I know she's not a real nerd. Her glasses are fake. We've been over this.
Also, she has a name. Her name is Mandy. It's not just woman. No matter how much the movie tried to red pill you.
When Mandy shows him the early version of ET2 at the bar, and he does a projectile vomit like an SNL skit.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Dan, your turn.
You've pushed me into a corner and made me do the absolute most depraved thing I've ever done.
No, whatever it is, no.
The best part of this movie is the insanely distended intro where it shows a bunch of fans loving the AVGN and him doing the shit the AVGN does, but worse because they're afraid of copyright law.
Yeah.
The reason why is because you are led to believe the film might be about that. It might be a character study. It might be about the essence of being an internet personality, but it has nothing to do with any of that. None of that was necessary.
Yeah. Although every time they did that, it would have been so much better if they'd used the actual old footage of him and cut it in with the new fake game.
Right, but they're so worried about copyright law that they're worried showing those games.
Exactly. I like cut it in with fake footage of games. Like anything would be better than what we ended up with. So we got the worst of both worlds.
But they can't show bad-looking footage in the movie, even though the whole movie looks bad.
It really does.
The movie at that point.
I'm serious. That movie's intro could just be wholly reused for a far better film that is focused on anything that matters, anything that resonates, anything with an arc. But instead, the movie just fucks off into, well, now that we've gone through great lengths to explain to you what a celebrity is and how that might work in the internet age. And I'm like, Mr. Rolfe, you fucking boomer, you do not need to explain this. And as years pass, it will become more and more absurd that you felt you needed to explain this. This did not need 7 minutes of the film.
Aggro.
Where are we? Best scene?
Yeah, I
This
know
movie
what
is
I
so
described sounded like a worst scene, but I assure you it was best.
There was a really good effect shot in miniature when he was describing the defenses of Area 51, where they have a little gopher plush underground, and then the tunnel fills with toxic gas, and the little gopher goes, "Oh shit," and dies.
Yes.
That was really dynamic and interesting, and I laughed.
There's almost like a whole movie you could imagine that's James Rolfe and that gopher.
Yeah, if this whole movie with just James Rolfe playing with miniatures, way better. Way better.
I mean, yeah. Literally, James Rolfe has made countless like student and amateur films. This is probably the worst film he's ever made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Guess we have to go to worst scene now. Talk about a target-rich environment.
Right?
Bob, what's the worst scene?
It's like one moment. It's like the military briefing before the like bomb strike, and it's like your target is here, and it's just highlighted the entire continent of Africa. Sir, anywhere there's fine,
Right?
Anywhere.
You could say any part of the movie, of course. But I'm going to choose the review of E.T.
At the very end, during the credits.
It will not end.
Wow.
The movie is over. Drop it. And it won't. I have to watch an entire terrible review with them cutting to the crowd being impressed by him reviewing this video game. It's horrible.
Fucking foldable ideas, just being like, so James, what did you think of E.T. on Atari? Well, it's not that bad.
I guess I gotta go. Oh God. There's so many bad scenes. I'm gonna go with the entire scene, the entire cat fight scene between the two women.
God damn it.
I'd like to extend that to that entire subplot where she's kidnapped by where good woman is kidnapped by evil woman. But
Editor's note, in the mythos of this film, all women are evil. Just so we're clear, that was my pick. That was my pick because it makes my piss fucking boil. That scene upsets me so much because that is already the worst part of the movie, and they just have to crank it to 11.
But it's okay. They hung the hat on it.
No, it's not. It's not okay.
that doesn't make it. What almost makes it okay is when the woman gets like thrown over the ledge and falls horizontally somehow towards a water fountain, and then they get tired of showing that, so they just disappear her from the shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, no splash effect or anything.
She doesn't get too small to see. They just stop showing her.
She hit
Like they
terminal
turned off her
velocity,
model.
which apparently just disintegrates you.
Aggro, what's the worst scene?
I think I'm going to go for the entire Game Cop sequence.
Wow.
Because honestly, thinking back on that hurts the most. Because I thought, oh, this is the setup. This is the premise where James Rolfe is going to have some kind of conflict about the effect his content has on purchasing habits and the way people consume media, and he's going to examine himself and his relationship to his fans and the broader nature of this whole fandom thing. And then we got in a van and drove off to the rest of this horseshit movie.
Yep.
And that terrible scene, I hate it because it seems like a better timeline. And I know that I suffered a moral injury if looking back on that scene was a movie I more wanted to watch.
Yeah. It's fucked up. Because even that's not an ideal AVGN film, but it's so vastly better than what we got.
Yeah, God, just anything would have been better. Dan, finish this episode. Tell us what the worst scene is.
So actually, this was my secondary choice because you took my choice, and this was my secondary choice before Aggro said his. But it is a complete parallel to Aggro's. So the first scene we get of them in the van, where it does the montage of them being like, "Oh, we're going on our adventure. We're gonna nerd out. Oh, she's a gamer too." Ooh.
God, and
That
they build the Atari into the van for some reason, something that basically is done for no reason.
so they can show them game on the go.
So
Yeah.
great.
No one had an N-Gage.
Ugh.
Yeah, no, it's terrible. It's just this terrible moment of, no, movie, go back. No, what are you doing? This isn't good. What do you mean the movie's just going to be this now? No.
Yup.
But if I were to give a second place past the other two, the other one that should have been it, right? And the one I selected. So really a third place. I'd give it to them entering Louis Zandor's fucking house.
Yeah.
Almost picked it.
Because there is no reason that they needed those completely outrageous CG effects to put a fake video game lava pit and terrible platforming in the entrance to his house.
Yeah, that, and then later in that house, they have the mistaken sex scene with them playing the sports champions or whatever.
That was so fucking bad. If I had remembered that, I might have given that worst scene. That is it's so hacky.
Yeah.
But there's a woman in the movie. I have to write the scene. I can't
It's
control
not my fault. I had to do it.
I'm choosing to exonerate James Rolfe from all of that and say that every single one of those was the guy who punched up the script.
Congratulations. You joined me and everyone else who's a fan of James Rolfe who watched that movie.
Does anybody have anything else to say about this totally dog shit movie?
You know, I didn't read the entirety of story, substance, structure, style, and the principles of screenwriting by Robert McKee. Maybe there is a part that literally told James Rolfe, if a woman is in your script, you must write them as a sex object and evil.
That's in Save the Cat.
Oh, that makes sense.
You know, Dan, a big part of the healing process is letting go and moving on and not inflicting the things that harmed you onto other people to perpetuate the cycle.
Oh, I'm aware.
Yeah, Dan just does it because he's evil.
My goal is not health.
Look, all I'm saying is this was a necessary evil we had to get past on Curse Content Club, and now we can move on to greener pastures.
It's true. You know what? I kind of agree.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need at least a year before we do anything related to internet reviewers.
Oh no.
It can be anything. It can be anything.
Hey, Bob, you know what that means, right? That Gears of War esports movie featuring Jason Mewes is back on the table.
Ah, come on. Can we at least watch Fanboys first?
Okay. The executive producers for this GigaBoots video are Esme, Ely Broyles, Spaceman Spiff, Red Blaze 27, Brendan O'Sullivan, A Reminder for Symphony of War, Cooper Tank, Very Best Plot, Iconic Bane, and Rado. Thank you very much to our executive producers. And also these guys. If you want to become an executive producer or normal patron, head on over to patreon.com/gigaboots today.